The lack of significant resistance to Ukrainian troops in the Kursk region may indicate that Russian elites are signaling to Putin that the war is over. This opinion was expressed in a commentary to the BBC by Mykola Borshchevsky, a senior fellow at the Atlantic Council's Eurasia Center. According to him, the slow reaction to the Ukrainian invasion may indicate hints of disobedience. Ukrainian troops have broken through where there should have been highly effective barriers. You don't see much resistance from the population and law enforcement. There were no reports of shots fired from any police station. I think that such a slow reaction from the security forces, if this is true, may indicate that the generals and the FSB are telling Putin, enough, added Borshchevsky. Russian generals are also worried about the lack of soldiers. Ivan Tymochko, the head of the Council of Reservists of the Ground Forces of Ukraine, says that Russia may need up to 100,000 personnel to drive the Ukrainian armed forces out of the Kursk region. To stop the Ukrainian armed forces in the Kursk region, Russia would need to deploy tens of thousands of troops. To build a quality defense and halt our forces, they need between 50,000 and 100,000 personnel, specifically from line brigades and units, not the mixed forces they had there, said Tymochko. He noted that to repel the Ukrainian advance, Russia needs to deploy line brigades and units in the Kursk region, infantry and paratroopers. However, the Russian army must first establish logistics to set up weapon depots and establish food, fuel and ammunition supplies. I'm not even talking about a simultaneous Russian offensive to push our troops back. It's complex and will take a lot of time, but this will also depend on the local population and how ready they are to resist. Currently, we see that they are not at all inclined to resist the Ukrainian armed forces. So, Putin will have to rely solely on the military, which will force him to change his war strategy, he said. According to Tymochko, Russia needs a different type of warfare in the Kursk region, mobile warfare. This requires a lot of equipment, and even the units currently facing the Ukrainian armed forces are only 30 to 40% equipped. The rest is on the front line in Ukraine, he noted. Ukrainians are forcing the Russian armed forces to spend expensive missiles to destroy fake weapons. The M270 MLRS multiple launch rocket system, the destruction of which Z channels rejoiced over yesterday, turned out to be a mock-up. The footage is available on the Telegram channel Ukraine 365. The Russian military posted a video of the strike online on August the 17th. They claimed to have discovered the missile launcher near the village of Bezdrik in Sumy Oblast. It was struck by an Iskander missile worth up to $5 million. While some Z channels were rejoicing uncontrollably at the impact, others suspected something was wrong due to the lack of secondary detonation. They tried to reassure themselves that the installation was supposedly empty. Before the Iskander's arrival, the M270 can be seen from afar releasing rockets. In fact, there is nothing like that in the video. Therefore, the lack of secondary detonation in the event of a direct hit may be a consequence of empty ammunition, the propagandists wrote. However, their hopes were not justified. The Ukrainian armed forces leaked a photo of the installation before it was hit by an Iskander. It turned out to be a model. The Ukrainians are very actively building them to deceive the occupiers. The tactics turned out to be effective. Recall, Ukraine is actively substituting its military equipment on the battlefield with decoys to make the Russian army expend ammunition on false targets. The idea is for these decoys to appear as legitimate targets from the sky without requiring excessive costs. This meant finding a balance in the choice of materials, combining inexpensive plywood that doesn't emit the necessary thermal signature to receive Russian radars and drones with thermal guidance, with enough metal to make them convincing. At present, hundreds of decoys have been destroyed. The actual test of the success of each decoy design is how long they stay within the enemy's view. Designers return to the drawing board if one design remains in view for too long.